Okay, this person is my favorite person in all HBCU football. I have gone on record. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna keep on saying it because I just love to hear her as well as Jay call games throughout the whole season. But she does it with such flair and style because she's a rattler. She's a FAMU rattler, and they strike and strike and strike again. But anyway, Tiff, welcome back to HBCU Legends. How you doing?
I'm great, Kyle. I know that the football season is just around the corner when I get a chance to hop on and talk with you. And thank you for that wonderful introduction, making me feel so loved.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You get nothing but love from us. You family, so you can't get rid of us, right? So
Don't want to.
no, exactly. But look, the 2025 season is here. I mean, a few months ago we were chatting on text. Hey, what's going to happen? Don't know. And right now we're at a point where we've got to get down to the nitty gritty, and let's talk about what's going to happen. I know you, as well as Jay, will be calling the MEAC SWAC kickoff in Atlanta next week, right?
Mhm. That's
Wow.
right.
Can you guys
Thank
believe that
you.
next week we are playing some football with NCCU versus Southern University? What to expect there?
Well, I mean, you think about these two teams. Last year, they were both a win away from making it to the Cricket Celebration Bowl. So they are hungry to start their season in Atlanta and potentially end their season in Atlanta. Southern coming in, the SWAC West champions. They right now are hot. They've got a fire underneath them with Terrence Graves, who said that this is our goal to get there and make it back to Atlanta. You've got Kelby Givens, one of the best defensive players in the nation and all of FCS, returning along that defensive line. You've got some new faces that are coming in with Trey Holly, the Louisiana leading rusher all time in the state, coming
Yeah,
into the
that was
program.
a big that was a
There's
big
excitement there,
acquisition
right?
for the Jaguars. That was huge because that
Yeah, it was
kid.
huge. It was huge for his decision to go there. And he had a previous relationship with Terrence Graves because he
Right.
recruited him out of high school as well. And then you think about the historical tie between these two teams, right? With both Terrence Graves and Trey Oliver having coached together at Southern. They grew up in the CIAA as players. Terrence a little bit older, but I mean, this is also a familiarity between them. And then you got North Carolina Central, who comes in, one of the top contenders in all of black college football, an FCS top program in my mind as well. Walker Harris, known quantity. You've got that big offensive line who returns for him. So I think North Carolina Central comes in prepped prime, and this is a wonderful early season test for both of these teams in the 20th edition of the MEAC SWAC Challenge.
Huge, especially like you said, for Terrence Graves as well as Coach Oliver. Coach has that bad taste in his mouth, not getting to the Celebration Bowl to repeat as a champion. But when it comes to Terrence Graves, those Cardiac Cats, they were 3 games away from losing with just seconds in the game a few times last season. This season, can they be a little bit more consistent on offense, especially at the quarterback position?
Well, I think that's the big question mark, right? We saw Jalen Woods last year. We'll see a couple of other guys that rotate through, and Jalen was a freshman essentially, so a young guy that we didn't know. And I think when we talked with Terrence Graves during media day, it was about finishing. And you hear coaches talk about finishing all the time, but ultimately he said, "Look, that those 3 overtime games, especially the one with 5 overtimes against Bethune-Cookman last
Yeah,
year,
exactly.
right? But at the end of the day, ended up as a dub.
That's what he
So,
said. Yeah.
however it is that they win, he says we ultimately want to walk out of our stadium or somebody else's with a W.
Yeah. Look, I remember I was on the field and I asked them, I said, hey, you down here in Texas, you walk away with 2 wins. He said, we did the Texas 2-step.
Now
I said,
Terrence got that mouthpiece, right? He's got
oh
that
man, it was
jab.
funny. It was funny, man. But it was good to see Coach Graves, especially a guy that had been kind of looked over all these years, and to see what he's done, as well as being able to assemble a great coaching staff with Fred McNair on the staff. I know Totten left to go to, was it Fort Valley, I believe. So anyway, Coach Graves has done a fine job with the Jaguars. So
Yeah.
really good to see. Let's talk about your school, FAMU. You guys are going to open up against Howard at the Orange Blossom Classic. I'm sure you and Jay love to have that battle. You know, uh, how do you see that one kind of handling uh, what's going on with all HBCU football, especially is it ESPNU? It's not going to be a ABC game as well, and a lot of people are kind of concerned about that. I think it's much to do about nothing. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I know that just this college football landscape and college sports in general just shifted and changing, and it's ever changing, right? We had the introduction of NIL and the transfer portal not too long ago. Now media rights that were up for grabs and have settled. So I'm thankful that we still have that exposure and can still showcase these programs on our ESPN family of networks. The Orange Blossom Classic is obviously near and dear to Rattlers, especially here in the state of Florida, which is where I'm a third generation Floridian. So I love that it's back and it has this extra type of zest, a rematch of the 2023 Celebration Bowl. And I think the outcome, if I'm speaking as a fan, I hope that it's favorable like it was in 2023 if you attended the highest of Seven Hills. I know Jay's crew out of the nation's capital has other things in mind, but I'll say this, what I'm hearing from the camp at Florida A&M, great QB battle, a lot of depth there. Also, that running back room is stacked. And that Franklin Jr., I think, helps to lead the way for that defensively. I think they'll be solid, but I'll be curious to see, are they as strong as they have been in years past with that dark cloud defense? And then for Howard, you've got Eden James, right? So we've watched him grow, emerge, the son of Edgerrin James, the Hall of Famer. So now this is his time to kind of take over that Bison offense. And are they going to be more run first? Or are they going to hand the reins over to someone else? Noah Miles, a kid that I know from Tampa, Florida. He grew up here and went to high school here. I want to see him anchor that defensive line and what they can do. So there's a lot of optimism coming out of the nation's capital, and they got a lot to prove because they were predicted to finish fifth in the MEAC preseason predicted order of finish.
Wow. Look, Noah Miles, I interviewed him a few weeks ago. Very impressive young man, has a lot of charisma too.
Yes.
So I like him. And Coach Scott, he felt very positive about his team when I had a chance to speak with him a few weeks ago as well. So I think the Bison may catch a few people off guard this season. So I know you Rattlers say, long as it's not that week one, we're okay.
Indeed, you want to start your year off right. Both teams do, and certainly I think coming into this season, James Colsey III, the head coach for Florida A&M, has a lot of expectations because that's placed on any Rattler head coach year in and year out. But you think about him being on staff when they won the Cricket Celebration Bowl and were HBCU national champions. Now this is, his time, his year that he's got his guys in. And I think, he's tapped the transfer portal quite a bit in addition to developing some guys. So he too is he's got a lot of expectations riding on this season, and I think he's ready.
Yeah, talk about that because it's HBCU football is weird because we had Coach Dooley went to back-to-back SWAC championships, and the Jaguar faithful were not pleased whatsoever, right? Yeah. And then you have a lot of rumbling is going on. They're saying guys like Coach Eddie Robinson, who I highly respect, maybe on that bubble. Even Colsey, even though he's had some success early on, we're still not quite sure about him. Why are we so impatient, Tiff? What's going on with us?
We're in a right now society, and I think we're no different than any other set of fan bases across any sport in this country, because you can instantly pick up your phone and Google or get information or contact the people that you need to, like, everything is instant. And so you put yourself in these positions where you know that your fan base and the expectation of the program is to win now,
Yeah.
and win as much as possible. So I think that, that just is something that comes with the job. Eddie Robinson Jr. has done a terrific job. One of the top defenses in all of FCS the last few
Yeah.
years. He is a
Yeah.
defense first
Consistently.
guy. Like it's one of those things where it just is what it is. It just comes with the territory. It comes with the job. And whether you choose and have the patience of your administration to build culture over scheme, like Trey Oliver has done at North Carolina Central, where he takes his guys and he develops them from high school to now, or if you have the, boom, flash in the pan like Chennis Berry had last year with South Carolina State and bringing over his guys from Benedict College. I mean, like, whether you use the transfer portal or whether you develop your guys, still the expectation is you win. However you choose to do it and however you get there, it's on you. But when you sign on that dotted line for a contract as a head coach, you got to win as early and as often as possible.
Yeah, I heard the coach say, when I got hired, it's about championship. It ain't about, can you win today? Can you just make us feel good about us? No, it's about the championship, right?
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. I have a young man in here. He wanted to be able to come in and chime off with us, Tiff.
What's up?
That's Mr. Kyle Anthony Mosley.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Popped in a little late, but hey, I agree. Coaches need to be there to win immediately. That's the goal, right?
That's right. I see. I appreciate you coming on and chiming in on this. Now, if you're programmed that has some substantial ground to cover, i.e. a Terrell Buckley over at Mississippi Valley State, Alonzo Hampton at UAPB. I mean, he's done a great job and has a great belief now, year 3. So we get to see that. But ultimately, championships speak. Okay. And you want bragging rights, right? Like, you represent your school, you represent your conference. You want to have bragging rights as much as possible because, we like to talk some trash. We like to talk a little noise now. So you got to have something to add to your argument for why your school is the best.
Yeah. Especially you Rattlers. You guys know how to do it well over there. But let's talk about
we got a lot to say. We got a lot to say.
Yeah,
we can back it up.
Guys,
we got a lot to say, though.
Just a tad bit. There's some new kids on the block, Tiff, especially in the SWAC as well as in the MEAC. We can't leave out those two big guys over there, Vic and Deshaun Jackson. But over in the SWAC, you had a chance to do both of the media days, right? Tremaine Jackson, Sam Shade, those guys have really kind of solidified themselves as potential upset-minded people. But when you talk to Tremaine Jackson, he's got Atlanta on his mind already. Talk about what you have seen in these new kids on the block.
Well, I think Tremaine Jackson, he's that Prairie View program is kind of be my program to be the dark horse, if you will, or be the disruptor, especially in what has been a crazy SWAC West. I mean,
wacky SWAC.
Was
we call it a wacky SWAC West.
Yeah, the wacky West of the SWAC. So I think, again, we're going to see much of what we saw with Chennis Berry at South Carolina State. Tremaine Jackson brings in a bunch of his guys from Valdosta State and other places to try to have that immediate recipe for success. Sam Shade, a proven winner, right? And an Alabama guy through and through, Birmingham native, won that championship at Bama in high school, had great success in the short time at Miles College, and now is looking to restore some winning in Huntsville or Normal. So I think it's going to be interesting. And then T-Buck, he's got the biggest lift, right, at Mississippi Valley State, but he's out of Pascagoula, Mississippi. That's hometown for him.
Mississippi
so
boy.
He goes back to the Delta where he's familiar and is just looking to plant some roots there. And of course, everyone's talking about Michael Vick at Norfolk State, Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State. They've got that name recognition and star power that they're bringing to their programs. But I think what is so great about what they're doing is that people have Norfolk State and Delaware State on their minds. Like, we're talking about them more than we have in the past. And so when you think about, well, is it a good decision to hire high profile coaches or former NFL players? I think from a marketing perspective or for sharing your story, yes, it can be a good thing because we are talking about these schools more and more, which provides now an open door and opportunity for a greater mass to learn about things that we've already known about these institutions.
Yeah, definitely. You saw how the NFL hosted the media day over at Ravens Stadium, M&T Stadium, right? And then you see what's happening with the Lincoln Field situation where they're going to have Delaware State against Norfolk. It's just elevating the MEAC as well, which desperately needs to be have an infusion of cash into that conference at this time. So those are great things. And Kyle, I know you wanted to ask a TSU PV question, right?
Well, you know how I feel every year going into the Labor Day Classic. I'm always thinking who's going to be the better team this year. But, you know, naturally, I'm a little biased being from Houston itself, not Huntsville, Houston. So I got to go for Texas Southern this year. But I got to ask you, what's your true opinion of this year's Labor Day Classic? How do you feel going in? We got a new head coach over at PV. We got Dishman. What's this, year 2 for him?
Yes.
Year 2, right? So, I mean, the squad at TSU looks a bit bigger this year. So I need your opinion about who's going to come on top at the Labor Day Classic.
Well, I will say this. I've never been to the Labor Day Classic, and I certainly hope to one day get there. I've heard about it. I've heard nothing but phenomenal things.
Yeah.
And so I want to be a part, and I want to be there to experience it as well. But I'll say this. Chris Dishman was able to notch that win last year in his first season at Texas Southern. He is a guy, and that is a program that I think has upward expectancy and mobility because he's respected rather in the area of Houston. He played with the Oilers. So like, I think he's bringing in more and more guys that are going to make the Tigers really tough. I'm not going to say who I'm calling in that game because I'm not getting myself in trouble. But I will say that Chris Dishman has that program trending in the right direction, and it's going to clash with, Prairie View's, kind of new look and what will the Panthers have in 2025. So I think it's going to be a great Labor Day Classic. And for those who are going, I'm jelly. I'll try to watch it, and I hope to one day cover it.
Yeah. Well, we will be there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lucky y'all.
Please.
What you say, Kyle?
She can live vicariously through us. We're gonna post all the videos that we can from the game. So go ahead.
Yeah, he's on the sideline doing the video and photos. So that's his forte, man. So
but great seat then.
Yeah, he has a great seat. I got to ask about one player, KJ Cooper. Last season for the Tigers, of course, that first game that he took over and dominated up there in PV for Texas Southern. He gets injured, and then he's out for the rest of the season. As well as Texas Southern had ups and downs, ebbs and flows of the season as a result. But if you look at that kid and you got a chance to meet him and see him firsthand, he kind of gives me the Cam Newton-esque type of qualities that you'd like to see. And he has a great arm to him as well. Talk about what you think about KJ Cooper and what he will bring to the Texas Southern program. Oh, did we lose Tiff?
I think we did, actually.
Oh, okay. Let's see. We'll bring her back in. Well, Kyle, what are your thoughts about KJ Cooper?
I mean, of course, we only got to see a lot of him in that one game last season. But from what I did see, I mean, we got a great package of quality. I mean, we got to see what he was good at. Good on the scramble. He's got good reads, goes through his 1, 2s, and 3s very quickly, doesn't waste time in the pocket. And he seems comfortable back there. for the most part. And I mean, with this new look TSU offensive line, he should feel a lot more comfortable in the pocket, giving him a bit more time back there. You know, he's getting his reads done already, so you give him more time, he's just lethal. And I don't know how the receiving course looking. I haven't been at training camp, and I haven't been at practice, but I mean, I think regardless, he's going to do great just with his skill.
Okay.
Carl, I dropped out there for a second, and I'm
That's
sorry
okay.
about that. Not sure exactly what happened. I know my boy Kyle certainly.
Yeah, well, he filled in for you. Matter of fact, I think
KJ Cooper, right?
Yeah, I think ESPN, while you were down, they sent over a contract for him. So
they sent me $1,000 from Shannon's old contract. They said I could have it. That was very kind of them to do.
Oh my God!
Really,
stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I mean, I love it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say one thing that I took away from KJ Cooper was the fact that, okay, you come off of this season-ending injury from a season ago. You come back ready, hungry, better than ever, because he says he's worked really hard to do it. And one of the things that I remember from Media Day, the guys talked about, you know, from the neck up, right? And obviously that's incredibly important, not only for a football player, but especially a quarterback. And so to get your mind right and prepared from the neck up to feel confident about, you know, planting and being able to move like you did last year before you got injured, and being able to just get back ready for game speed and game time after watching for so long. And I think he's going to really have a good year, and I'm hopeful that he stays healthy throughout.
Man, one thing I noticed about him, he's a lot more comfortable, more confident in himself. When we first met him on the sideline at a spring practice game that Texas Southern had, we were looking up at, I was like, wow, this kid is impressive then. But he was kind of quiet and reserved. He's no longer that. And I look at what he brings to the table. I was saying before you got off, he gives me that early Cam Newton type of look and quality and personality. So could he be the Cam Newton of the HBCU football world? We shall see. But I like what I see in Mr. KJ Cooper for Texas Southern. So last thing, Tiff, before we get you on the road, talk about Jay getting to be a Hall of Famer. How do you feel about your cohort being a Black college football Hall of Famer now?
I'll say this, it's long overdue. I'm incredibly proud of him, and we are recording this, so this is going on record, which I will probably come back and regret later on. No. But Jay deserves it. He was a fantastic player. Every week, every city that we go to, you know, people always, Sky, man, he was a bad man. He was a bad man. And indeed he was, right? MEAC Offensive Player of the Year, went on to be a Hall of Famer. He led the Bison to an undefeated season en route to that MEAC championship, Black College Football National Championship. I mean, he threw what? These are things he won't let me forget. So that's why I can just spew them out really quickly. But, you know, you throw for better than 3,300 yards and one of the best to do it as a quarterback, not only in the MEAC, but HBCU football. You go on, and he has a career in the NFL as he gets drafted. So I think not only was he a great example at Howard University, but he continues to be that in the booth in the way that he represents. And I'm honored to work alongside him. And it's a headache, but a joy, because he's really good at what he does. He loves HBCUs, Black college football. He lived it, he breathed it, and he continues to share the legacy.
Yeah, it was great to hear him do some baseball. He called that SWAC baseball tournament, right?
Yeah.
I was like, look at.
Well, you know, before he was at Howard, he was at LBC, and you know, he had an opportunity to throw a few, and was a pitcher as well, and had the decision to make, and decided to stick with football. But that's, you know, very common with quarterbacks and pitchers. So I'm very I'm very impressed by Jay Walker, and I don't say that easily or often, but I am, because he was a dude.
Look, I'm impressed by both of you guys, and as well as you know how I feel about you. But how many years has it been for you and Jay in the booth together?
Oh, I want to say we did our first game together in 2017, and that was the one that was news making back in, what was it, Alcorn State and Alabama State in 2017. And so we've
Oh,
been
that's a big
together
game. Yeah.
ever since. Yeah. And it's been a fun ride. And I think what's so cool is that we both have such a great love and passion for our respective universities, HBCUs as a whole. We want to continue to promote uh, these young men. They're terrific athletes, but they're also phenomenal students
Hmm.
who are going to go on to be great people. And they're coached by some men who really want to make them world changers and see a difference made in this world. And they are impacting them each and every day. And obviously, historically Black colleges and universities, so necessary, so
Yeah.
needed,
Yeah,
so important.
definitely.
And we try
Look,
to share that each and every broadcast.
yeah, look, we have Ty Floyd. She's making history down at Alabama A&M, but also we have Simone Stanley. She's going to be calling some, I think, SIAC games this year as well. So you got two of your babies there. They are
Yes.
really who look up to you and admire you so well. What are your initial thoughts on having them in the booth calling games like you?
I'm incredibly proud. Like, I'm a mom of two boys, so I can say this like somebody's mama, right? Those are my journalism babies. And I've known Ty since she was a high schooler, and I was working in local television back in Orlando, Florida. And to watch her journey and progression just brings a smile to my face each and every time, because I know the work that she's put in, the dedication, and just betting on herself and never giving up, always believing. And now she finds herself with this wonderful opportunity, which I know she's going to knock out the park. And then Simone, who I met a little bit later in life in my TV career, and I've just been impressed with her. I mean, she's just entrenched in HBCU sports. She gets after it. She is willing to stretch and push herself to do and do more in the play-by-play seat, which I love, right? Because I'm sitting here so that Ty and Simone and others can come join me,
Yeah.
right, in this broadcasting space and play-by-play specifically. So their voices are going to resonate, and I think they're going to do a terrific job. And I am so very proud of both Ty Floyd and Simone Stanley for what they're doing and how they're going to represent.
All right, excellent. Kyle, one last question.
I mean, all I have to say is, Miss Greene, I'm honored to be on this podcast with you today. So I want to say thank you for coming out here with us, talking to us, sharing some time. We know time is important. Time is money. Time is everything.
Yes.
But also want to thank you for just inspiring these young ladies to strive for greatness, be bigger than themselves, look for things outside of this world to be the best broadcasters, writers, journalists, whatever they want to be. But you are on your own that light that people are looking forward to and trying to uplift themselves to be. So I just want to say thank you for that. I don't even have a question. This is just all I like to do admiration at the end of the podcast, let y'all know that y'all are loved and cared about over here in the H. Because if you come on down to the H, I will be here and I'll be like, hey, let's go get a bite to eat. You got to show you, give you your dues. For real. But sincerely, thank you.
I sincerely appreciate that. Your words land. Please know. And I'm a woman of faith, and I want to just add this in here that I was reading my devotional, and it was Matthew 5:16, right? Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And God has given me this platform to glorify him and be a light in this world. So thank you to Kyle Squared for
That should be
Oh,
a new
my
title of this
goodness.
podcast. There, Kyle Squared. Go.
Kyle
Kyle
Squared, come
Squared.
on now. I see it because Kyle, he is certainly following in your footsteps, and he is ready made. I mean, he's quick, he's
Yeah,
sharp.
he's always been quick. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Hey, hold on. I use my smarts for good. I promise. No evil, no evil.
No evil. but he's also a pretty talented writer. He does our cultural writing. So
I love that.
so anyway, Tiff, thank you so much for giving your time and allowing us to kind of pick your brain. But you
Yes.
know, you're here in my heart, and you always are HBCU Legends family, no matter what anybody says or do, right?
Yeah.
So tell everybody how they can follow you out there on the World Wide Web.
Oh boy. So you can find me on Instagram at T Green, green with an E, 34. That was my line number. And
Oh, really?
also on X. I kind of use it, kind of don't, but it's okay. Tiffany A. Green as well. But I hope to see everyone October, August 23rd. That's Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. on ABC for the Cricket MEX SWEC kickoff challenge between North Carolina Central and Southern.
Hey, we
Yeah.
will be there. We
The
will be
Eagles against the Jaguars.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tiff, and
Thanks,
we
guys.
love you and
Love
keep
you
up the
back.
great work. Guys, you can follow us at HBCU Legends. Oh, Kyle, I apologize. Tell everybody how they can follow you, sir.
Man, you ain't gotta apologize. I didn't even think about it. Y'all can follow me on at Kyle Anthony Mosley on Instagram, Kyle A Mosley on TikTok, and what's the X handle? Mosley Kyle A. It's different than that.
KM.
Yeah.
Kyle
Yeah.
Mosley, KM.
He knows it better than me.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
hey, let him tell it.
All right. And you can follow me at HBCU Legends on all social media platforms, as well as at KTMOZE on social media as well. I'm Kyle T. Mosley. That's Kyle Anthony Mosley. And that's the incomparable Tiffany Greene. Thank you, Tiff.
Thank you.
Take care.
You.
All right, Kyle T. Mosley here with a special HBCU Legends broadcast. We love to bring you icons of sports, the legends, and the legendary figures of sports, not only in the sports world currently, but the ones who brought us the game and gave us where we are today, especially the HBCU legends. And we have a HBCU legend with us today. It's none other than the remarkable Yolanda Laney. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
I don't know if I should call you Coach or I should call you Miss Laney. Or I just
Call
like
me Laney. Everybody calls me Laney. They've always called me by my last name.
just Laney. All right.
Uh-huh.
Well, look, you have had a remarkable career. We were just talking offline about Don Hunt, and I listened to the many stories Don had to say about you and your career when he was covering you in the Philadelphia area. But before we start with talking about Don and what has happened, how have you been personally in your life? What's been going on with you?
I've been great. I retired 2 years ago from 30 years of public service as an attorney for the city of Atlantic City. And my last 3 years I spent as a chief municipal public defender. During my 2 years of retirement, I have been traveling, watching my daughter play in the WNBA with the New York Liberty, traveling all over to the games of the country, watching Kalia Copper, who's from Philadelphia, who was one of my kids that I taught and grew up and who played AAU with my daughter, and watching some of the other players that my daughter has played with when she played USA basketball that I got to know. So when I travel with her to watch the Liberty compete against those teams, I get to see them and watch them play. I've also been spending over these last 2 years with my taking my grandkids out, letting them get used to going to basketball games, want them to be want to be around it and want them to be a part of it. They both are ready to start playing basketball. My grandson is 2 years old. His name is Karis Laney, and my
Okay.
granddaughter is Jessie Laney, and she's 3 years old. As soon as she turns 4 years old, 4 year old, I'm gonna begin training her in little things like exercises as well as defense is my first choice to teach both of my kids. Like I taught
Okay.
my um, defense when they're at a young age, so they can get the concepts right. They'll have an understanding for it, and they'll grow to love it because they'll know all that they need to know about position wise and how to defend somebody one on one and help defense.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to train them because defense has been under question these days, especially in the NBA as well as WNBA. They say, is there any great defensive players any longer? Is there anybody out there that you kind of respect their game currently from a defensive point of view?
Well, in the WNBA, I have to speak to my daughter. Doesn't get She gets the credit, but not the credit that she really deserves because it doesn't show up in the stats, but it shows up in the numbers. Like when she had Caitlin Clark and she was a plus 44, and Caitlin Clark, didn't score 10 points. It showed how good of a defender she was when she matched up against Chelsea Gray, full court, 98 feet. She
Wow.
takes pride, with defense and everything, but by playing and stopping the other offensive player on the other team, you don't get the credit because you're not the one in there able now to grab the rebounds because you're focused on shutting down that perimeter player out there. So you don't get the rebounds, you don't get the steals because they ain't passing the ball there because you right up there glued to them like the glove Gary Payton was on
Yeah.
his defenders,
Yeah.
and the ball is going the other way. For your teammates to make the plays, but you do what was specifically asked of you as a player defensively, and that's what I love about Benaja. She always plays the toughest player on whichever team she's competing against, and then if another offensive player is getting off, they switch Benaja on that player to shut that player down, which she has done in the past. um, so on for the WNBA, it would be my daughter, Yolanda Laney, who I like defensively as a player. I always think that she should be on first team all defense since she's been in the league and whatnot. But she's made first, she's made
How many
second.
years has it been since she's been in?
Benaja's been in there. This would have been her 10th season right here, but she's out
Really?
injured right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's out injured, and she'll be back. Next season. She's on progress, on track, with her recovery and her therapy, from the surgeries that she had during the off season. So definitely, Benaja Laney is my pick for defensive player.
Well, no better pick than your own, right?
Yeah. And she's good at playing defense. Ain't nobody gonna tell you that Benaja don't play defense. She can defend you from a guard all the way down to the four position. She knows how to play inside, outside against bigger post players and everything. That's the same way I'm gonna teach my granddaughter. Same way I taught my daughter to be able to defend a guard as well as a forward and as well as a post player, because you never know when you're gonna get switched in games and you may wind up with a post player down there. You got to know how to defend them.
That's right. That's right. I saw you on the post with her in a couple of videos and pictures one time. And she was all smiles behind you, but you had her going. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Let me ask you this point, because when it comes to guys like you name Gary. He was a great player for the Sonics for
Yes.
such a long time. Then he traveled other places after that before he retired. Then you look at guys like Rodman, big
Mhm.
names,
Love Dennis
and
Rodman.
yeah, yeah. But it's more about the grit and the hustle that you have to have for that position as well. Is that a lost art, so to speak?
Yes, I would say so because they focus more on the offensive qualities than they do on the defense because that gets more of the admiration, from the crowd and everything when you're able to score at will or whatnot. I think that defense is equally as important, as you're going to find out going down this WNBA series. You can have all the offensive players you want on a team. If you can't lock somebody down and stop the other team, then you're going to wind up on the losing end of the ball. I'm gonna
Yeah,
tell you that now. You got to be able to play defense and to play team defense to be able to come over and help at the right time when one of your players get beat. But all 4 or 5 players can't get beat, and then you expect to win a game.
yeah.
Defense has to be a big part of the scheme if you're trying to win and you're trying to win a championship.
True, true. Well, they did win a championship last season. She did get a ring, right?
Yes, he did.
All right, that's awesome. So let's look back on your career. Let's talk about some of those magical moments for you. What was it about making that decision to go to Cheney so pivotal for you in your life?
Well, it was pivotal to me because I followed the dream that I had when I was in third grade. The Bible has always been my favorite book, and I grew up. My mother raised me to know the Lord, to know the ways of the Lord, and to try to pattern my life after the Lord. So when I was 8 years old, I was in third grade, and I was on my way to school at St. Vincent's Catholic School up in Germantown, and I dreamed that I was on a bus, and then this guy got on. He had a bush, he had a blue and white jacket on, and when he went by me after paying his fare, it said Cheney on the
Okay.
back of it. And I
Yeah,
was like, am I supposed to be going to school here, one day, to go to Cheney? And so, I never thought about that dream again until one of my recreation directors at the Mantle Recreation Center said, look, I want to take you someplace. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just want to take you someplace and show you what's in your backyard. Because at that time, I was considered going to the University of Kansas and playing for Marion Washington, who was from Westchester. And she was one of the few black coaches, along with Coach Stringer. It was only them two, and I wanted to get away, from home. I had been home all my life and everything. And I said, I met some players on the road from AAU who were also from Connecticut, Tracy Claxton and Karen Drawn, who were also going there. And I was in heavy conversation with Lynette Woodard, who was the star out there at the University of Kansas at the time. And I was like, right now, you know, that's my top choice. So he said, I just want to take you somewhere. So he takes me up to Cheney State College. And it hit me, bam, this is the dream I had when I was in third grade. It was a doubleheader being played that night, the men and the women.
okay.
And the women's game was first, and they were so awesome. I mean, I didn't know I had school right here in my backyard because I wasn't reading college stuff. I was only reading high school sports when I was in high school, about grass, about Wim, Penn, all the different teams that I would compete against. University City, where I went to school at, we stayed in the paper. So I was like, Kenny State College. I go up there and I watch the women trounce whoever they're playing up there, and then the men played behind them. And I knew Coach Cheney because Coach Cheney would be down at the Sunny Hill Community College League down there, and at the high school league, because he recruited players, from coming down there, watching them to go up to Cheney. So I watched them, man, and I was like, it was just dynamite. And then while I was there at that game, Coach Stringer's assistant, Bunny Schaefer, may she rest in peace now, she came over to me, saw me sitting over there watching the game. After their game was over, and said, Coach Stringer would like to talk to you. And
Really?
I said, me? And she said,
Wow.
yes. So I get up with her and I go in this small classroom, and the other assistant coach, Miss Ann Hill, who also rest in peace, is in there with Coach Stringer. And Coach Stringer says, girl, I've been looking for you. I've been
Wow.
trying to get in touch with you. And I said, well, ain't nobody told me that you was trying to get in touch with me, or that you were even recruiting me, or anything. She said, yes, I've been trying to get in in touch with you. I've been sending stuff to your school. I've been calling there trying to get you during your free break time,
And no
to
one
speak
told
with you.
you?
And no one told me. So after I
Wow.
had that conversation with Coach Stringer, I personally gave her, my home address, my telephone number, so that she could be able to get in touch with me and everything. And if she wanted to speak to my mom, she'd have the opportunity to speak to my mom also, because I told her I would soon be making a decision on where I was going to go to school. And I let her know that, right now, that first choice was Kansas. So
Kansas.
then I wound up going back to high school the next day, and I asked my high school coach, "Has there been any packages or anything coming here from me from Cheney?" Because Mr. Wright took me to Cheney last night, and she said she been sending information here, and I didn't get it. And then my coach told me, "Yeah, the stuff has come, but I didn't really give it to you because you was talking about going away. You wasn't talking about staying home. You was talking about going to University of Kansas." And I said, "Well, it's still my decision. So anything else that comes to me here from me from Cheney, I want that information." And so, because that next week I now my school's down to 5, and I said the 4 that were originally in my thoughts, and then I said and Cheney as the 5th school, knowing now this powerhouse is sitting right here in my backyard. My mom will get the opportunity to see me play, every game, because my mom came to every game that I played. She would take off
Wow.
her lunch during my game time at 3 in the afternoon and wind up and sitting there watching me play high school sports and everything, supporting me. And so, after that, I was like, reminded of that dream I had, and I asked my mom. I said, "Mom, I know we talked about Kansas, and that's where I was going, and I know that's what my coach talked to you about, but I need you to do one thing before I make my final decision. I need you to come up to Cheney State College with me and watch a game." And so she reluctantly agreed because she was thinking I was going to Kansas. So
Right.
we go up to Cheney to the next home game. It's another doubleheader. After the women's game was over, I was out in the hallway talking to some of the players. She came to me and she said, "You can come to school here." She had
Really?
such a great time because she had went to she only went for a year because she wound up getting pregnant, but she went to South Carolina State. She was a
Really?
freshman at South Carolina
Wow.
State.
A
And
bulldog.
yep. So I was like, thanks, Mom, because I'm going to let the coaches know, because I'm ready to get this all behind me. I know what I want to do, and I believe is what the Lord wants me to do as well, based upon the dream that I had when I was in 3rd grade, and it turned out to be the best move I ever made. Um, Career wise, college wise, playing, because even though I went to a small HBCU, and Cheney was a very small HBCU, we wind up on top of the mountain, playing in the first NCAA championship, with women's championship game.
Yeah.
So, it was the best times of my life and years that I never will forget, and the people that I met there are still my friends for life right now. So, that's what made me choose Cheney State College.
Man, that's a great story. And it was great that your mother still trusted you enough, even after watching the team. Did she have a chance to meet Coach Stringer as well after that game?
Yes, she did. She actually
Okay.
did have a chance to meet Coach Stringer, and they talked a lot. And even when my mom was sick and knew she was going to be passing from colon cancer, Miss Stringer and them were in town playing in a tournament in Philadelphia, and I had just came back from overseas during the Christmas break from playing over in Switzerland. And lo and behold, Coach Stringer and Miss Hill, the assistant coach, walks into my mother's hospital room. And I was like, "How'd you know my mom was in the hospital?"
Yeah.
And whatnot. I didn't even know, that she still, followed, with my mom and everything, but she did. And she sat there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, visiting my mom at Hanneman Hospital.
Man, that's special. That's special.
Yeah, it
And,
was.
and, and that's like a testament to who Coach Stringer was, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's very caring. Uh, I've read some other information about how she really made you guys feel like family.
Right. And
That's
that we did, and we always would say team together, and we were one family. That's the men and the women both together. That's what we would always say, team together. We practiced together, and we cheered, for one another. When we were home and able to catch their games at home, the men's game at Cheney when we played, and vice versa. When we played, the men came out to support us. We was one big
yeah.
family.
Wow. Coach Stringer, Coach Cheney. Oh man, that's just two legends right there that
Hmm.
you had to be able to kind of if you had to bounce something off, if Coach Stringer was around, you always had Coach Cheney to possibly help you out as well, correct?
Correct. Yes. Yes. Because
Wow.
we practiced with the men. We were the first school that ever do that. Men and women
Really?
practicing together. Yeah, we practiced together at least for the first hour of our practice before we separated and went to our separate course. We did our offenses against their defense, and they did their defenses against our offense. We ran fast breaks together. We conditioned together. We did shooting drills together for an hour at all of our practices, and then we would separate the work on our individual stuff with our teams.
That is really groundbreaking news for me to hear, right? But do you think that should be or could be implemented more at some of the programs to kind of help both of them strengthen certain weaknesses that they would have, especially women playing against the men? I'm pretty sure you guys had to run with those guys as well.
Exactly, definitely. It got us to get our speed up. It also made us have to shoot over. And if we could score against the men, we knew it would be easy for us to score against the women because the men are bigger and they're stronger and they're better leapers than women. And we got our shots off. We wasn't getting our shots blocked. It made us think more, be more focused. It made us concentrate more, because we wanted to win the games that we played the 10, because we played the games where, if they stole the ball or whatever, they got 2 points on defense. We scored, we get 1 point, and vice versa. And we didn't want them thinking that they was gonna roll over us and beat us. We was determined to show them, hey, we can win against y'all, as well. But it helped prepare us, by going up against the guys, more so making it easy for us when we had to play against our female competitors. And in answer to your question, yes, it would help, but they started going to getting practice players. So now you find that the college schools, they'll have male practice players that
Right.
they go up, and it's not like teams going against each other. It's male practice players, and then the men go up against themselves, or sometimes male practice players. But you hear a lot on the collegiate level about the women having competing against male practice players because it makes it tougher for them. It makes them work harder. It's going to make them stronger. It's going to make them more focused also. So that's the edge that we had, always being challenged during our practices against the men, competing against the men's team.
Yeah, if I recall, I saw an article last season where Dawn Staley praised her male practice players for helping them and to be able to win the last couple of championships there
Hmm.
down there in South Carolina. So yeah, that's awesome. So you had an HBCU background. Your mom went to HBCU. Other family members, I would think, probably attended HBCUs, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Um, and when it came down to after you went to Rutgers, you obtained your law degree
Now, I got my
and
law degree from Temple. That was a misprint
Temple.
in a
Oh, okay,
paper when they said Rutgers, but yeah, it's actually Temple University.
Temple. All right, excellent.
Hmm.
So when you went to Temple, got your degree, but you chose to defend people in Atlantic City. What what brought about that decision?
So what happened? I was a counselor at John Chaney Sunny Hill basketball camp during the summer leagues, and a Superior Court judge used to bring his son, David Brathwaite. The judge name was Dennis Brathwaite. He was a judge on the Superior Court in the criminal division, and he heard that I had just passed the bar, that I was looking to practice law, and he asked me would I be up there doing a clerkship. And so I said, sure, I'll be up to doing a clerkship. It was only for 1 year, and criminal law was always my favorite over civil law. I like criminal law the best, and to be able to start my career off working and seeing other attorneys, in court and get used to the courtroom persona, I said I most definitely will. So I wound up clerking for a year over in Mays Landing at the Superior Court criminal division, and then after that, I spent less than a year at Harvey C. Johnson's law firm over in Camden, thanks to Judge Brathwaite, who knew the gentleman back from when they went to school, and he had his own practice and everything. So I went right there, and soon as because I always told Judge Brathwaite that I wanted to be a public servant and
Okay.
whatnot, and soon as the opportunity, he was friends with Jim Whalen, who was the mayor at that time, back in 1993 in Atlantic City. As soon as an opening happened there in the city of Atlantic City solicitor's office, I got a phone call from the director of human resources, Karen Upshaw, who also clerked for Judge Brathwaite at the criminal level, and she asked me if I would be interested in being an assistant city solicitor for the city, and I said yes. I said I've always, just all I ever wanted to do was be a public servant, and
Wow.
so I wound up going down there and staying, down there in Atlantic City, and 26 of those years I spent on the civil side, but I got to live out my dream and be on the criminal side by as a chief municipal public defender the last 3 years of my career. And I truly, enjoyed that because it's so challenging when the eyes are against you, when you think the prosecution got all the evidence and everything, and all they're going to do is want you to accept plea deals and stuff. And I'm not the pleading kind. I've always been a fighter. And as long as my defender wanted to be a fighter, hey, we're going to take this to court. We're going to fight this matter. And, we wind up winning a lot of cases and getting a lot of cases dismissed, more so than other public defenders who have been down there since so I've been told when I took over the office for the past 3 years and whatnot. So, and I really enjoyed that because I've always enjoyed working with and helping people. I've been a people person all my life.
That's outstanding. Look, it sounds like your days of a athlete help prepare you for the defender's office and your civil work.
Yes, because as an athlete, you got to be disciplined. Okay, so and it takes a lot of discipline with the type of defenders you have to advocate for, and everything. And sometimes they're your biggest challenge, just being a defendant, because they already have this preconceived notion that the public defender ain't gonna do nothing but accept a plea deal and try to convince them to take a plea deal. And that's not something I ever did the 3 years that I worked there. I said, if you want me to seek a plea deal for you, I will. If you want to go to court, we will go to court. We'll try the case. Whatever it is that you want, I'm going to do what's best for you. And
Right.
so I let them make the decision, and that's how we roll, for those 3 years. But being an athlete, like you said, that it does. It plays a part in every aspect of your life, not just working when you're dealing with business or anything else. Your discipline from sports and your team camaraderie that you learn from being a part of a team and the leadership and everything, it's a part of you in every walk of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of life, did you pass any of those discipline ways down to your kids as well?
Oh, most definitely, and I'm looking forward to doing it with my grandkids as well. Even like the kids that I've taught outside of my own kids over 40 years. That's all they talk about. Coach Laney wouldn't let us get away with this or get away with that. Now these kids nowadays, that's all they want. They want stuff handed to them. We had to work for everything that we had to work for. I had a conversation with one of my assistant coaches, and she was telling me how she saw a post from two of my players that I had coached, and they was talking about that very fact and saying,
Yeah.
Coach Laney might have had her starters, but she never wanted nobody to be left out because every practice before every time we got ready to play a tournament, I would have them challenged for the starting position.
Oh,
I
really?
let the ones who were not the starters challenge to see whether or not you could take them for their position. and they couldn't because the starters were the starters, and that's why you chose them in the first place. But I never left anybody out. I always gave them the opportunity to think that they could take that time and earn that time, by putting it in the work. And that's what I would do every time before we got ready to go on the road to play in a tournament.
Wow. That's good stuff. That's good to know. I had a band director. He was like that as well. Doc, so Mr. Harris, he would make us challenge when we went to the what we'll call the Louisiana Musical Educators Association festivals. And he said, hey man, the higher we go, we got to challenge more. So Mosley, play for me, Mosley. He'll walk in sometimes just out the blue. And he'll just sit there and everybody just be waiting, then out the blue, he'll say, play for me, Professor Washington. And he knew some of the guys who would play well and some who wouldn't. He caught me one time, my sophomore year, when I was slipping. I had my horn disassembled and he called on me. And I was horrible. I said, you'll never let that happen to me again. And every time he called on me after that, he's like, that wasn't so good. But anyway, talk about your Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame nomination. How special was that?
Very special. Again, from us being a HBCU to make it to the first NCAA Women's Championship game, it made history. Every 10 years they play that game on television. So my grandkids going to get to see it, but they get to see it anyway because I have it on a DVD that was provided to us so that we will have it, because it will always be a part of history. When you go down to any of the NCAA tournaments, they line up from the first game to the last game showing pictures of players, and my picture was right there when I went to a Final Four game maybe about 3-4 years ago. And come in and you see we're sitting right there. Number one, I'm bent over. Coach Stringer is talking to me during the game, the championship game, and that's the picture that they have starting from one up to whatever year we are right now with the tournament. So to make history, which we did, something that could never be taken away. And when you think of a HBCU, you always gonna have to say, hey, it was HBCU that played in the first women's national championship game. So that's something that HBCUs, not just Cheney, but all HBCUs can hang their hat on. That we had a HBCU in the first ever women's basketball game. That's
not
history.
only
That's
that,
something that can't ever be taken away.
Yeah, but not only that, Coach Laney, the fact that you were the most outstanding player of one of the regionals, was that correct?
Yeah, of the Eastern Regional. Yeah, yes. That was 1982, and that's the 1982 team that went into the Hall of Fame in Tennessee, and then we're up for nomination for the Naismith Hall of Fame, which I believe that we'll wind up getting in. We just been nominated over the past 2 years because we were overlooked for over like 40 years by the women's Hall of Fame, and then they started advocating. Graduates from Cheney started advocating. Wait a minute now. How can't this team or these All-Americans? We had 2 Kodak All-Americans on that team, myself as well as Valerie Walker, who was 2 years ahead of me. And nothing's mentioned, about them, and they are definitely, Hall of Fame candidates and whatnot. So, it became a strong push over the last 2 years to make them recognize Cheney State College for what they did. And, I've been getting nothing but, flowers before and flowers even up to now, because every year so far, like last 3 years, is an HBCU game tournament going on somewhere. One of the teams' name is Team Laney. I just
That's
had
right.
2 teams this weekend. One up in the at the Rucker, Team
Rucker,
Laney
correct.
versus Team C. Vivian Stringer, and then in Philadelphia, where I got honored by the Daniel Rump Foundation at their classic. They had, Team Laney in there as well. And a year ago, I was honored out in San
In
Antonio,
San
Texas,
Antonio with the
you know,
HBCU All-Star game.
at
Yeah,
the HBCU All-Star game, and Team Laney won that first event, and it was a good game too. It really
it
was.
was. It
Team
was
Laney
very
was small
competitive,
and
wasn't it?
came back and
Yeah.
wound up winning the game. It didn't look like we were going to win, but we wound up winning.
I recall the halftime interview that you did with Simone Stanley.
Uh-huh.
That was an outstanding interview that you
Thank
guys
you.
had there. So look, I mean, I think sometimes people overlook the accomplishments. Sometimes they overlook the historical milestones that you guys were able to create. But when you look at some of the HBCU players today, I know we had Angel Jackson a couple of seasons ago. She was drafted by the Las Vegas Aces.
Mhm.
And I think this past year, Zay Green, she was drafted by the Mystics. But
Mhm.
normally what has happened, and Diamond Johnson, who was all world when it comes to HBCU women's
Diamond played for
basketball.
me when she was 12 years old.
Did she? Wow.
Yeah.
And
And I
she is from
always
that
called
area.
her
I
a
forgot
diamond
about
in the
that.
rough.
Yeah.
A diamond in the rough. That girl can go. And I think the only thing that has held her back, but I think she's gonna make her way because she's determined. She's gritty like that. It's just, the size that
The
she's
height.
working
Right.
with, the height wise. But if she gets a fair-minded coach like how I was and whatnot, you'll see what that little spark plug and that little diamond in the rough can do, both defensively, because you think that she gonna let you take her down there and back her
No.
up. She's gonna fight like crazy to keep you
That's right.
from taking her down low and posting her up. And then outside, she's gonna be scoring on you from a 3-level player that she is, a 3-level scorer. And she can defend and she can pat the ball and make the right decisions, pass, get people involved. Johnson is a player, and don't count her out because you didn't see her make it to the WNBA this year, right? Coming out of college, I think she's going to get the opportunity with the right-minded coach.
Yeah. I know she's headed to China, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's going to play over there for a little bit as well. But I recall that All-Star game, the Libby's All-Star game. She came in off the bench, outscored everybody. She was the leading scorer. She had a couple notable assists as
Mm-hmm.
well. So Diamond, yeah, I mean, like you say, diamond in the rough,
Yeah.
shoot.
Yes.
But diamonds do shine also.
Yes.
And hopefully
Yes.
she'll get her opportunity to do so.
I think she
Why
will.
haven't we had more of these HBCU diamonds to be able to shine in the WNBA? Is it because of the big name schools that most of the decision makers are looking at?
I think that is part of it. I think that they look at the HBCUs not being able to compete, don't compete on a daily basis against what they call, like the Pac-10 or the Big Ten, or the ACC. They don't compete day in and day out the way they do in those big Power 5 conferences and everything. So you look at the competition level that's being played as opposed to the player that's playing the competition. And I think that's why we haven't had, so many. I watched a game, a kid who went to Fordham. She was a great athlete. I just watched over in Philadelphia. And she just was so athletic and really gritty. She had that type of fire, to herself. But you coming from the smaller schools, they looking at the bigger schools, the bigger names. They looking at what they consider top tier competition, and that's who they want to give the opportunities to.
Yeah.
So we don't get to have that opportunity at the HBCC level, even though you have a lot of good athletes at the HBCU level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate because I know she was in the Mystics, not the Mystics, she was in the Lynx camp,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And even in camp, from talking to and communicating with some of the reporters behind the scene, they were saying she was doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But she never got that opportunity in that preseason to be able to show what
Right.
she was able to do. All
And
right.
I think so, it's not to harp against anybody, But sometimes when you play the way Diamond plays and the way you say the reporters say she was doing pretty good, you don't want to put her on that spotlight to get that shine right now because you already have veterans in there that's already got guaranteed contracts or that's been promised, by coming into this camp and whatnot, you're going to make this team and whatnot. So I think that you don't give her that opportunity in the preseason to shine because now you got an even tougher decision behind closed doors. You can get away with saying, okay, we let
Yeah,
her go play someplace else when we give another opportunity come next year and whatnot. So,
yeah. It's all
that's what I think happened with Diamond.
yeah, it's all about politics, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, same thing is happening with Shador, and I'm gonna leave
hmm
it like that.
I,
Right
I
there.
agree with you 100%. And I hope he fights his way out of it too.
Yeah, definitely. So, looking back, and we talked about your career. Talk about Vivian Stringer and her influence on you, and how that has crept into your personal life.
So, I met Coach Stringer when I was 17 years old. Like I said, when I went up to Cheney, and then she wound up coming to the playoff games when was playing for my third city title, which we won against William Penn High School, and she was at that game watching me play and everything. And then when I went to Cheney, and to be under her tutelage, because Coach Stringer is a great teacher. She's very knowledgeable, and she also used art, which the first time it ever happened to me was when we would be in pregame, going in the classroom, going over plays and stuff. She giving us life lessons attached to the pregame stuff. And like, dang, I thought this was basketball. They're talking about life, equating it to life and what would you do, if this happened, here, and how can you turn that into something that you would do in your everyday life and whatnot. But Coach Stringer, she's a great speaker and everything, but she gives you also like the will to win because she never wanted to be looked upon as a loser. She's always seen herself as a winner, even when the odds are always stacked against her. And it always seemed like, she always had the odds stacked against her from the time when we were playing. You would think that in 1982, that here we win the East we had to go out to California to play at USC instead of USC coming to Cheney. We had more fans at Cheney than 100 fans they had at USC, and that was the reason the way they say we had to go to USC because the arena was bigger. They would be able to sell more tickets and fans, and then we get out there and we see how we're handcuffed out there and everything that happened while we out there. If we had just played that game at Cheney, we would have probably been winning a AIAA championship
What
that
happened?
year.
Was it you said you were handcuffed? Were
Handcuffed
there
because
limitations
when we got
as
out
far as
there,
practice?
first of all, the bus gets late to the game. So
Okay,
now the first five that get dressed, we don't get to warm up. The first five that get dressed are the ones who have to go out there and start the game. So we was trying to get the starters, to be the first ones out there, if possible. But if not, it was whoever was dressed first because we were late because of every day we done gone to this facility to practice, and on the game day, the bus is late. Then when
really?
we get out there to play, we don't get any calls. Val Walker was shooting a jump shot which she would easily make. And her shots never touched the rim or the net because they was hitting her on her elbow of the arm, and the ref act like they didn't see that was happening. Then they had our starting center, had four fouls in the first half. It was like we weren't meant to play and compete. That we no way, no how were we going to walk out of there with the win at USC, a place that we should not ever have had to go to play. They should have been coming to us. We were the higher seed.
Right. Wow.
But those are the type of things that Coach Stringer's had to deal with. Even like when I started watching, we started predicting. We said, well, she going to when she was at Rucker, we said she going to whatever region Gino win, that's where she going. Because if Gino beat them during the season, they looked at, okay, Gino would knock her out. During Connecticut would knock Rutgers out during the season. We already knew what region she was going to. Just wait and see where they naming Gino at, and that's where she's going to be at. Sure and behold, it only didn't happen one time. She was in a separate region from where Gino was. But every other time she was always in the same region, Rutgers versus Connecticut.
UConn. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
You
Wow.
know, but she's just a real inspirational person. And like I said, she taught us life lessons, when she was teaching us basketball lessons, and those are the things that carry over in your personal development and into your personal life. And those are the things that you implement in your life, and you seek to give back to others that are under your tutelage. And to make sure that they understand what they need to do to continue to move forward in a positive and productive way.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. Great. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions related to the current WNBA. And when you look at the stars that have entered the league, and of course, last season, the two big stars coming out of college was Caitlin Clark as well as Angel Reese.
Mm-hmm.
Was it much to do about nothing, or how do you see that scenario where a lot of people in the media was trying to pit those two as adversaries and foes?
And that's what I saw, the second part, what you said with the media, whereas the two of them as players were trying to play that. And it's like the media, to me, they were the hardest, made things the hardest for Caitlin. I love Caitlin Clark as a player from the time she was a freshman all the way through college. I watched her play out there. When I first saw her play against Connecticut, I was like, oh, I like this little freshman, right here and whatnot. And then when the media got behind, like trying to make her like she was the best player in the W, even though she hadn't stepped into the W, they made things really difficult, for her. And you saw that in her first year of play. It was like, okay, you want to beat up Cheryl Swoops for her making the statements that she made, but
Right.
she was
Right.
accurate, with her statements and everything. And they were the ones, they created that atmosphere for Caitlin Clark, not the WNBA players. That was the media's doing.
Yeah. Media has to write something, and sometimes they
Mm-hmm.
fabricate the storyline.
Yes.
And I'm media, so I can say that. I know it.
And I had a ton of experience with media, so I also know what you said to be true.
Yeah. Look, I got to call it as it is. Asia Wilson, and you see the career she's had over the years, and now you see the rising, and that's too surprising in my book, of Miss Collier. She's been a great player for a long time. Is there a changing of the guard, so to speak, coming or happening before our eyes?
I think so, because Asia is still a great player. Okay, no doubt about that. From the offensive side as well, as the defensive side, she plays both sides of the court, and she gives her all whenever she's out there on the court. Looking at Nafisa's growth and everything, I mean, she developed the way that I've been watching. Like I said, I always watch UConn, play. They have great athletes on that team, and several of them are in the WA. And Nafisa has grown over this past season. She put that work in, so that she can get the recognition that she is so deserving of, and that she's been getting, not only in the WNBA, but when she played in the Unrivaled, as well. She's a hard worker, from what I can see, and talking to my daughter, about her, because they're friends and whatnot, and they have conversation, and she speaks very highly of Nafisa. So Nafisa is a tough cookie, but if if you know and you prepare and you know tendencies and trait, and if you're a great defender, you'll be able to match up on it. Believe me when I tell you.
Okay, let's talk about some tough cookies. I witnessed these young ladies back in the way when they won 4 straight championships in the WNBA. You talked about her earlier, Cheryl Swoops. You had Miss Cynthia Cooper as well, Tina Thompson, and those crew. If you look at that team back then compared to where we are today, could they compete against these ladies today and do it at a high level?
Yes. Because I always even say that about myself when I'm sitting there watching some of these
Well,
games.
I was going to get to you as well.
Some of these games and whatnot. But I would say yes, because you got to understand too. If you look back when Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper were playing, those players, all 3 of them on that same team had grit and grind in them, toughness in them. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know that when you got that, and that's what I've always looked for in players, because I've always had that in myself. I said, oh, that child right there gonna go far and whatnot, because that's the first thing I noticed. And then when you teach them and you help them develop their skill set and whatnot, you know, they're going to be able to compete at a high level. So with the physicality that presented back when we played, you know, these little youngsters couldn't measure up to that body wise either. Their bodies wasn't, you know,
They're
built
frail.
as strong, you know. They got to come in and get their bodies ready. We were coming in, you would have come in and your body was already ready.
Yeah, I heard a lot about that from stars that say, look, man, these guys, they come into training camp to get prepared. We were prepared before training camp.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that is good. Dawn Staley, she paid you tribute. She wore your jersey. She paid Cheney tribute, but she's always been highly respectful of HBCUs. Well, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great, because Dawn knew that I went to a HBCU. She knew that my high school coach, who wanted Dawn to come to University City to play her high school basketball, but Dawn chose to stay in her neighborhood and go to Dobbins, because I went out of my neighborhood. I lived in Germantown, but I went to University City to play for Coach Jones, and we won 3 championships there. Dawn stayed home, and she wound up winning 3 championships there, you know, at Dobbins on the years that she played. But it's and she knows that the HBCUs don't get the opportunities that the big schools have, and it's also a way to help the HBCUs with funding. You know that they so need by scheduling them games and everything. And see, Coach Stringer knew that from the time, like when we played at Cheney, coming from the HBCU, they paid for us to come and play those games because we had a talented, tough team, and we were in the top 10, you know, in the country every year. So that was a way to also help with the financial piece for the athletics at a HBCU. And Dawn understands that importance, and she doesn't want HBCUs to become distinct, you know, because with the way everything is going now, with all these image deals and everything, HBCUs could be out of you know, sports like that at a very competitive level or a high level, trying to be at a high level because of all the money that's, you know, floating elsewhere and not coming into the HBCU. So, you know, I commend Dawn, you know, for her foresight and being able to see, you know, what can help, what would hurt, and to be in a position, you know, to be able to do something about it. And she has done something about it.
Yeah, got to applaud her. It was kind of special because last season, the coach over at Ole Miss, who she scheduled 7 HBCU schools on their 9 conference record to be able to help them out.
Right.
And this year, Kim Mulkey has scheduled 4.
Right.
Yeah. So and I think she's always had like Langston from Oklahoma a part of her preseason schedule, but to add 3 more this year was kind of
Right.
special and historic for LSU.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. All right, so let's kind of wrap this up. And the way women's sports has been gaining momentum, not only from the basketball side, but if you look at the ladies tennis, people prefer to watch the ladies tennis versus the men's tennis. I'll be
Right.
honest with you, I'm right there with them, right?
Uh-huh.
And gymnastics as well. How do you feel the ladies are represented from the HBCU side?
That's a tough one. Looking at it from an HBCU side, because we're not represented the way that we could be represented. You
Mm.
know,
Explain.
um, when you look at television and you look at the different sports and everything, this year was different. Last year was different, where you started having like HBCU classics and you
Yes.
start to highlight them. We need to see more of that throughout all the sports, be it football, basketball, baseball. They need to highlight and channel some of that airtime to HBCU competitions and everything, the way that we do towards the nationally, because that's how you get overlooked, and that's how you get locked out. Other than like how you say that these schools have been scheduling HBCUs, I think that even like at a football level, if you have your a top HBC you football team, schedule them like in a televised game against one of the mid majors or one of the Power Five schools, because the Power Five schools, they beat up on you whether you are HBCU or a
Or
mid
another
major
power
or
five.
another one in their own conference.
That's right.
They gonna beat you. They gonna beat you, plain and simple. But it'll give also the opportunity for some of those HBCU athletes to be recognized, and for those families to see, hey, my kids on TV, look at all that hard work, and see you don't have to go to a nationally ranked school, to be seen, on television and whatnot. So I
That's right.
think that, if they become more inclusive, and not just HBCU against HBCU, but HBCU against some of those other nationally ranked schools, I think that would shine a light on HBCU sports. It would also give HBCU athletes, like inspiration, to move forward, and to see where they are level wise playing against these guys, and where they got to step their game up, too, if they want to make it to the pros. I had classmate of mine, Andre Waters, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles for like 9 years, and then 2 years with the Arizona
Yeah.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
If you could have seen where Andre came up from, his is a life story that you didn't want to live, but you would want to learn about, and you could see that, hey, if this kid made it to become a professional athlete, and he came from the neighborhood where he came from, and then came to college at Cheney with just 2 pair of jeans. That's all Andre had, was 2 pair of jeans and
Wow.
some shirts and whatnot. And then for him to get the opportunity to flourish at Cheney at a HBCU and catch the eye of the Eagle scouts, and then get invited into camp, and to make it, with the Philadelphia Eagles, and to play 10 years where he earned his pension and everything, it speaks the world to an HBC, athlete, who's trying and has dreams and hopes of trying to make it to the NFL, or HBCU trying to make it to the NBA, or
Yeah.
the WNBA.
Yeah.
I mean, I that he just reminds me every day. I look back and I think of people when they say they don't have, and I always think of him and what he accomplished from what he did. He had the love of his family behind him, a strong mother who kept encouraging him and letting him know that you can make it, and he made it. And I just think of Andre. I had to mention that since we talking about this HBCU and the growth of an athlete, and then to be able to make it to the professional level. I
Yeah.
just thought of Andre.
That's great. That's a great story. I did not know. I knew of Andre Waters. I did
Mm-hmm.
not know that was part of his story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he played some great years out there in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Speaking of Philadelphia, two Philadelphia kids are now HBCU football coaches. You've been keeping your eye on Coach Vic and Deshaun Jackson there?
Yeah, they're gonna have a big game over here in Delaware where I live at. Because Deshaun's at Dale State and
Yeah,
whatnot, and they moving. I think they're gonna move that. I forget
to
where they're
Lincoln
gonna move
Field.
that to Lincoln Field. Yes, they're
Yeah,
moving that game to Lincoln Field. Yes, over in Philadelphia.
yeah. So that should be pretty special for that area.
Uh-huh.
It seems as though the Northeast is getting a lot more HBCU introduction, and they kind of forgot about Cheney for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln, and for a long time, and but now to have that representation over at Delaware State, which has been a struggling program,
Right.
because of location and
Mm-hmm.
funding and things of that nature. To have somebody of Deshaun Jackson's ilk to be there is great
Right.
for that opportunity to grow it and grow the brand. So they're going to have the New York City Classic over there in New York at MetLife Stadium this season.
Okay.
There's, I know, the actor Michael B. Jordan. He used to have the basketball tournament over in New Jersey for HBCUs. So there's been representation going on. We just got to get more over
Mm-hmm.
there on the East Coast, right? So anyway, last thought from you. I would like to give you the platform to be able to say how you feel about your career or anything that's on your mind that the listeners need to know.
I'll end it with family and friends. I'm thankful, that the Lord placed me in the places that He did, guided me, gave me the direction that I needed to find my way, to be able to reach back and help as many individuals that have helped, notably a lot of young ladies earn Division 1, more than 2,000 girls earn more than Division 1 scholarships, to college, and for them to come back and to reach back and to teach or to coach, to spread their knowledge of what they learned over the years, to reach back and teach someone, and help them to accomplish their dreams. I'm thankful that I had a strong mother, who raised me, a single mom, from the South, Kershaw, Carolina. I'm thankful that the teammates that I've had, not just when at the collegiate level, the high school level, but on the recreation level as well as the AAU level, to have the opportunity to play with some of them who I know were great players, but never got the opportunity to play in the WNBA because it wasn't here, at the time that we were playing in our prime. Because when it came here, I was pregnant with my first child. I was 31 years old. My prime would have been my 20s up to my 30s and whatnot. So never got that opportunity to experience that, but did have an opportunity to see in the dream that I would be playing in the WNBA, which I am playing in the WNBA through my
Through your
daughter,
daughter.
Benaja
Yeah.
Laney, through Kalia Copper, who plays with the Phoenix, Mercury, all the kids that, I was able to help coach and give some guidance to in their life, by seeing that, I knew that, my daughter, was gonna get to do something that I didn't get to do. And I'm just thankful that God has always been a guiding force in my life.
Yeah. No better thing to say. And I think we're going to leave it right there. I do appreciate you. And I do think this is one of the best interviews I've had in years. And I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
But guys, if you don't know, go support Yolanda Laney. Anything that she has her name on it, go support it. out there. I know you talked about what happened over at the Rucker, and that's what kind of got us here, right? To be able to meet one another is that that was a pivotal game. They had 40 HBCU stars, 20 women, 20 men out there at the Rucker Park, the legendary Rucker, and they played a all-star game this summer. So I think we need to highlight more of that and get that spotlight out there to some of these television stations, and no one picked that up. That's what was so crazy. I can understand that. So that's very, very pivotal. Now, how can everybody follow you out there on social media? Are you on social media?
No, I'm not on social media. I've never been a fan of social media. And
Is
the
your
only
daughter?
thing
How
social
about your
media,
daughter?
yes, my daughter is like, she's just getting back into social media. She was, but then she stopped doing social media. And then somebody told me she posted something. I think she might be on Instagram, but I've never been on social media other than LinkedIn. And that's because my daughter put me on that for professional reasons when I was just getting ready to start with working with the city of Atlantic City. So no, you won't find me on social media. You have to know somebody to know me who has that telephone number that dial in to me, and
Dial in.
you can get me. All they got to do is reach out to me, and they let me know what it's about, and then I'll say, yeah, you can give them my number, like what happened with us here, and whatnot,
Definitely.
So
Hey,
I'm always accessible.
before we get off, Don Hunt, talk about him. If you guys don't know, Don Hunt, legendary sports writer for the Philadelphia Tribune for many, many a year, Hall of Famer in Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania as well. Talk about his effect on your life as a journalist.
Donald Hunt was my Dr. J, or my Larry Bird, or my Magic Johnson. That's who Donald Hunt was to me. He was just as notable as a sports writer as they are as WNBA legend. He's a legend with the pen. He's covered my life from the time he started writing about me when I was a ninth grader in high school, all the way up to the many kids that I've taught, including my daughter, playing basketball and going on to college. He would write articles not just on me, but on every female star in the Philadelphia, Delaware, New Jersey, Delaware Valley area. And it just so happened that most of the kids that he was writing about were kids that I wind up being connected with, because somehow they either played for me or I taught them skills and drills. And he just kept, saying, Yolanda's always been there. She's always been there. And, he was there when I got my Hall of Fame award at the Black Hall of Fame in Philadelphia, which meant a lot to me, because it's coming from people who you knew from your own hometown, who watched you grow from the time you was playing in middle school all the way up to college and beyond. And, to be honored by your own, to me, that's always more important than any of the other honors that I may receive out here from other Hall of Fame. Even with Naismith, the Black Hall of Fame was still my first and foremost Hall of Fame that I recognize, and then the one that we were honored in DC. Oh, they put on a beautiful awards ceremony from us after we returned from the Hall of Fame. You would have thought we were the Black queens that no one ever heard of or seen. They just spoiled us rotten. And I have to say, I got to meet Ben Crump at that classic where they honored us, and Ben Crump was there, and I truly enjoyed meeting him, talking to him, and taking pictures of him. If you don't know who Ben Crump is, you better ask somebody.
You
and
better
Google
ask somebody. Civil rights champion now
Yes.
for us right now, attorney Ben Crump. Yeah. I think the last time I saw him was when, get this, Sheila Jackson Lee and Jesse Jackson were in the
Okay.
building for the HBCU All-Star game that was in Houston before it played 2 seasons ago, before it got to you at San Antonio. So
Okay.
that was a really, really special event. Okay. Coach Laney, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Really do appreciate your time. And guys, this is a special broadcast. Watch it. Have your kids to watch it. Learn. This is a legend that we need to be pushing out there and promoting more, because you have still such a wealth of knowledge to be able to offer all people in sports.
Thank you.
Just going to say it like that. I'm Kyle T. Mosley. That is Coach Yolanda Laney, the legend from HBCU, Cheney State. You take care. You guys have a great one. Have a great weekend. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.